close, I whittled them down. Sticking to them by sticking around. The gang online, Iwo Jima got one flag and it's sticking the ground. Setting up shop. Think I got the message across. Came for the titles, impressed with the watch. We played the levels of Letterman jocks. Pins on the jacket, the man's abundant. The point of the road was banned and rugged. Hushing, I'm applying no pants in London. The products are not being scared of some judgment. Gotta stay in the cut you off if you ain't making the cut. Couldn't tell you who the hell is behind us. You start to forget when you stay in front of it's up. And it's up for grabs, no remorse of who I'm taking it from. Numbers I give on my scoreboard, it's the only form of us staying in touch, that's saying enough. It's time to receive all of the favors I've done. Too late for y'all to switch teams, everybody getting big leagues. Product flying out the shelf, what's in store for us? Known to hit a hole in one, look at the crowd and shoulder shrug. Shots are limited, I'm scared mango with the golden gun. Posted up, ready for whatever, boy, you know what's up. Time's close, I whittled them down. Sticking to them by sticking around. The gang online, Iwo Jima got one flag and it's sticking the ground. Setting up shop. Think I got the message across. Came for the titles, impressed with the watch. We played the levels of Letterman jocks. Shout out to Steve. The boy getting love from the harsh critics. Strauss hit me bi-weekly to tell me keep taking it further. You aren't finished and I gotta listen. Ain't he son of believing and see that I'm actually breathing and doing it real time. Love to pull an idea out thin air, act on it and profit in real life. If we not aligned, don't present me a dotted line. Yeah, I'm a QB, but I ain't handing on nothing for someone to monetize. And it goes to the birds too. Can't give it a time of a dollar, so cut her eyes. They get X'd out for they had the potential to be my ex. I know all the plays, I'm a seasoned vet. Yeah. Always showing up, known to hit a hole in one. Look at the crowd and shoulder shrug. Shots are limited, I'm scared mango with the golden gun. Posted up, ready for whoever, boy, you know what's up. Time's close, I whittled them down. Sticking to them by sticking around. The gang online, Iwo Jima got one flag and it's sticking the ground. Setting up shop. Think I got the message across. Came for the titles, impressed with the watch. We played the levels of Letterman jocks. Time's close, I whittled them down. Sticking to them by sticking around. The gang all out, Iwo Jima got one flag. Yeah.
What is up, everybody in internet land and around North Central Ohio, and welcome to another edition of the Roundup with me, Big League, number 5 of 6 for 2025, and that means we are wrapping up softball season. We just had state over the weekend, so we have a lot to come from there, as well as some regional baseball action. Brian Skowronski will be here with his Diamond Cuts, and I heard it's an extended version, so you got to stick around for that. I'll be back here with the greatest hits as well as last week's chart topper. We also have the talk of the town, the shout-outs from our MVP interviews over the last week. We also break down the softball state scoreboard as well as regional baseball scoreboard. But before we get to all that, you see the hat I'm wearing. It's not my Bishop Donahue hat that's back there. This is from the PB&J Ministry baseball game that we had on the air live and free this past weekend. What a phenomenal event that was. It's for special needs children and adults to get to play the game we all love, baseball. We had the stream on there, and our crew down there said they had the best time watching all these athletes get to play. Shout out to the PB&J Ministry. What a wonderful event. And hopefully you welcome us back because we had such a great time. We want to be back there next year. So shout out you guys for doing what you're doing. A great cause. Just so wonderful. Also, it is time for the greatest thing I saw last week. Roll it. As we had state softball. Look at this atmosphere. Firestone Stadium, I call it the mecca of softball, high school softball in the state of Ohio. And with crowds like this was before the Holland-Springfield-Dover state championship game. The place was packed. You'll see on one of the greatest hits A home run on the first pitch at the bottom of the first, right as the ball was cracked, the place went nuts. It was deafening. I thought I was at PNC Park listening to the Pirates, listening to Andrew McCutchen hit a home run. It was that loud. It gave me goosebumps. That is just the atmosphere that can be at Firestone Stadium. The media director of the OHSAA, Tim Streed, when presenting the trophies after the game, said in all of the years that we had state softball here at Firestone Stadium, that was the best atmosphere and the loudest atmosphere I've ever heard. So that was great. Shout out to all you fans who attended at Firestone Stadium. They had an attendance record. Yes, I know they had a couple extra days, but before even the final day, they were well over 10,000. I think they had about 13,000 people attend this weekend's 7 championships. So awesome. Shout out the OHSAA. Shout out the folks at Firestone Stadium. Phenomenal as always. And Brian and I will actually finish the show off by talking about the state tournament. But right now, let us show you the scores from softball, state, and baseball regionals. And first, the state tournament scoreboard for softball. First, with our teams, we had 4 teams play in the semifinal. Something had to give. We had 2 Lariat teams playing each other, so we did have 1 team playing for a state championship. But first, Lexington and Kenton Ridge. Lexington had a 3-2 lead with 1 out in the bottom of the 7th, but Kenton Ridge, who was 30-0, found a way. They walk off 4-3, but I have to shout out Makari Chapman. What a performance she put inside the circle. The lone senior for the Lexington Lady Lex. Great offensively, broke a state record or tied a state record for triples in a game in Division 4 and had one of the best defensive plays. Maybe you'll see it in the Diamond Cup that's coming up, but shout out to her. What a great career she's had, and she's going to show off those skills playing at the college level. In our game of Something's Gotta Give, Monroeville, 4-0 lead. They actually made 2 phenomenal defensive plays to keep Mohawk off the board early on, and that proved to be the difference. Mohawk scored too late, but it was too late for them as Monroeville pulls it off 4-2, going back to their 2nd consecutive state championship game. For Tri-Village in the regional championship, a squeeze play in the bottom of the 7th won their game 1-0. Well, in the bottom of the 1st, a stolen base Pickle scored the lone run for them. They won 1-0 over Doughton to move to the state championship game. Now to the state championships. First in Division 1, 3-1 Lebanon. Lebanon wins the D1 title. It's the first in their 6 Final Four appearances. Congratulations to them. Riverside comes back. There are 2 teams that have ever come back from a 3-run deficit in a state tournament game. Riverside is one of those. They win 8-6. They win the D2 title in a battle of teams, making their first ever appearance in the Final Four. Dover strikes for gold in Division 3 for the first time in their 2nd Final Four appearance. 10-0 blanking of Holland Springfield. The Cinderella, we saw them a couple times on the OH report. The Grand Slam to beat Madison in the regional championship. They won their semifinal, but Dover just too much for them. Kenton Ridge did in fact complete the undefeated season, 32-0 in their 8th trip to the Final Four. That is their first championship, 9-0 over Hillsborough. Wheelersburg, the Pirates, win their 4th championship in 6 championship appearances. So they are 4-2 now in championship games, 10-0 in 6 innings over Liberty Union. Perfect 28-0 record for them. Another team that was perfect, Tri-Village, they squeaked their way, like I said, through the regional final and the state semifinal, but then they put up 6 runs on Garraway and come out as D6 state champs. For the first time ever, it was their first trip to the Final Four since 1985. I wasn't even born yet. That's how long ago it was. And finally, Notre Dame, a tough district always for them when they were in D4. They had Danville in their district. They had the likes of Strasburg Franklin in their districts, but now those teams got knocked out in the district finals, and that paved the road for them to get to the Final Four, and they end up winning a state championship in their first appearance, 9-1 over Monroeville. That's the softball scoreboard from state action. Now let's take a look at the regional action for baseball. In a regional semifinal from Massillon, Waynedale knocks off Cardinal Mooney 10-4. Shane Koblenz, you know what he does pitching-wise, but at the bat as well. 4 for 5 in the game at the plate with a double, 2 RBI, and 3 runs scored. Coldwater, number 2 in the state, right behind Waynedale, blanking Centerburg 7-0, but this game was 0-0 through 5, a pitcher's duel. Daniel Amaster gave it his best, but a 2-out error scored the first run for Coldwater in the 6th, and then they explode in the top of the 7th for 6 runs to win it 7-0. Waynedale, Coldwater, number 1 versus number 2. Audio live tomorrow afternoon, or Friday afternoon, on the OH Report. We'll have a delayed stream as well of the full video, but that should be a good one. Perkins, Perkins, the Cinderella, knocking off Upper Sandusky. They actually held them off in a Bowling Green regional semifinal, 10-8. Quentin Bennett goes 2 for 3 with a double and 4 RBI, as, like I said, they held off a late rally from Upper Sandusky to win it 10-8. Braden Cordonier, you heard him on the basketball court, you heard him last year on the baseball field as well. Once again, solid, going the distance in the mound, a 2-hit shutout, 13 Ks, as Rushi knocks off state-ranked Mohawk in a top 5 matchup, 9-0. Troy Manns goes a perfect 3 for 3 at the plate with a double, 2 RBI, and a run scored as Evergreen blanks Colonel Crawford 6-0 in the semis. 2 more semifinal scores for you. Calvert in 5 innings, 14-4. The number 1 team in Division 7 wins in the 10-run rule. Cam Moyer, the kid just continues to produce. 4 for 4 with a double, a home run, 4 RBI, and 2 runs scored to send them back to the regional final. Norwayne was so close to matching up with Waynedale in a regional championship, an all-WCAL regional championship, but Dylan Minnie's sac fly in the bottom of the 7th walked them off for Canton Central Catholic into the final, but they had to meet Waynedale. Waynedale wins that regional championship, the 4th consecutive regional championship, 6-3. Braden Steiner went 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 runs scored for the Golden Bears. Perkins completes the regional championship, another 10 spot in the regional final as well over Benedictine, 10-4. Listen to this stat line. Dylan Crabtree, 3 for 4, 2 RBI and a run scored. Yeah, that seems normal, but he had 6 stolen bases. 6 stolen bases in a regional championship. That is crazy. The kid has the Sandusky Bay Conference stolen base record. He has the Perkins stolen base record, and now he's got to have a regional tournament record, 6 stolen bases. Cannot wait to see what he has on Friday. Also, a live audio stream, full video delayed for you coming from Thurman Munson Stadium on Friday. Brian Skowronski pumped that they're in it, and he'll be pumped to call that game. And finally, a regional semifinal rematch from last year in which JFK walked off Calvert. Well, Calvert got the best of them this time. They were down 3-0 in the first, but they scored 3 in the 6th, and an AJ Shoemaker, an RBI single in the top of the 7th, made it 4-3. They shut out JFK in the bottom, and they are heading back to state. We will have their game tomorrow, 1 o'clock audio cast. After the game, we will have a video cast of that where the Senecas, the number 1 team in Division 7, will be playing in the semifinal, the 3rd time in 4 years they are at state. So once again, congratulations to all of the softball teams that won state championships, and our 4 teams as well that made it to the final. 4 in Monroeville made it to the final, but the other 3 teams, congratulations on regional championships. It was quite the weekend. I was exhausted for 2 days after that. I finally got my energy back today. Got to be ready for baseball because we're doing it all over again starting tomorrow at Canal Park and Thurman Munson Stadium for the semifinals. Saturday and Sunday, we'll be back at Canal Park for all the championships and the semifinals that go that day as well. So there you have it for this. It is time now to send it over to Mr. Brian Skowronski. He has your extended Diamond Cuts. Take it away, Ski.
Thank you for the introduction, Big League, and what an amazing week it was just a few days ago here on the OH Report. The state for softball, what an electric environment. Travis and I, we're going to break that down a bit more in depth here in just a minute. And then the regionals for baseball, not a ton of that action coming up here on my Diamond Cuts. We're going to reserve most of this list for the ladies since they now have their season in the books. But what is that old adage? What wins championships? That's right, defense. And I've got the 5, no, make that 6 best defensive plays of the week coming up right now. Here come your Diamond Cuts, presented exclusively by our good friends at Graham Ford. D3 state championship game, and a rocket shot off the bat to right field where Hannah Schlachter makes that leaping snag at the warning track to take away extra bases from Ariana Immel. Dover would get the win, but Schlachter makes the countdown with this athletic catch. D4 Final Four up next. Undefeated Kenton Ridge looking to take the lead late, but not on Makari Chapman's watch. Heads-up effort by the Lexington senior as she comes storming out of the circle to make the tag and a lasting impression in her final high school game. D6 state finals action. Ariana Baker thinks she has a base hit to right, but didn't realize Kylie LaCroix had a missile launcher for her right arm. Guns her down from deep in right field to end the inning. Just an absolute torpedo for the Garaway out. Our lone baseball play is up next at number 3, and look at this mad dash from Evergreen's Colton Robertson. He's going to lay out in shallow center to shut down the frame, helping the Vikings punch their ticket into the Elite 8. And it looks even sweeter in slow-mo, diving face first to make the play in a 6-0 win over Colonel Crawford. How about a double dip at number 2, Monroeville's Haley Mormon, protecting center field like she was a human security system. And nothing was getting by the sophomore in this Final Four showdown, making not one but 2 extraordinary diving catches to help lift the Eagles back into the state championship game for a 2nd consecutive year. Big time stuff from the youngster on the big time stage. But at number 1, let's make some history. Final play of the D6 state championship chalks up a pair of outs to clinch the first ever title for Tri-Village. Ty Mize makes the grab. Cameron Osmore gets the force out for the double play as the Patriots finish the season undefeated. They are your champions of Division 6, 30-0, bringing home a new gold trophy to New Madison. So there you have it, folks, the championship edition for the ladies here on the Diamond Cuts, and some pretty good ones. That's why I couldn't eliminate one of those. I had to have at least 6 this week, but that's just my list. What say you? What should be the number 1 play from the state softball championships and regional baseball? Had one in there as well. Get the debate going in the comment section down below. I'm all about the defense. Travis, he loves his offense, and he likes to sing a little bit on air, too. So I'm going to set him up. We've got your greatest hits coming up next.
When you buy a Ford, you're buying American. You're buying a car, truck, or SUV built in Michigan, Missouri, Kentucky, and Ohio. Built by Americans, for Americans, in America. No tariffs, no price increase. You pay what we pay with Ford employee pricing for all. Ford Country. Everything we do is driven by you.
Back here with another edition of Big League's Weekly Top 40 minus 35. It is the greatest hits, our top 5 best hits from our baseball and softball coverage over the past week. But before we get to the top 5, it is time to unveil last week's chart topper with an outstanding 150 votes. Here it is. It's Monroeville's Madison Reber. The bases clearing double down the left field line helped open up their lead against state-ranked Matthews and helped them get back to the state Final Four. Maddie Reber is not unused to playing in big games and getting big hits. Last year in the regional final, she had a home run to win it in the top of the 7th. This time, a bases clearing double to open things up as Monroeville wins the regional championship. And now, it is time to unveil our top 5 nominees for this week's greatest hits. Hit me with the horn, Tony. We start in 1979 with the Gap Band as Dover's Jenna Molk had Holland Springfield players thinking, "You dropped the bomb on me." Not 1, but 2 home runs in the D3 title game, tying the state record for home runs in a state tournament game. The Ohio State bound Jenna Molk sending it out. Number 2 takes us to 2004 and the Great Beastie Boys. The real deal about the 3. We're going to tell you about Triple Trouble, y'all. We're going to bring you up to speed. Well, Lexington's Makari Chapman showed the speed She was triple trouble in the D4 state semifinal, tying a state tournament record as well with 2 triples against number 1 ranked Kenton Ridge. Makari Chapman missed do it all. Our third greatest hit comes from 1979 in the Legends AC/DC. Perkins Bryce Davey had to have been listening to Highway to Hell because he was thinking, no stop signs, speed limit. There was no stop signs for Davey as he rounded the bases for an inside the park homer in the regional semifinals. Greatest hit number 4 takes us to a movie soundtrack back in 2003, Pirates of the Caribbean. Wheelersburg Pirate Ava Eastep shot the cannon in her at bat singing, yo ho, a pirate's life for me. This homer helped pace her squad and the Pirates to a D5 state championship. Our final nominee stays put on the countdown after winning last week as Monroeville's Miss Clutch is back once again. To 1973 in Leonard Skinner as Madison Reber was singing, that ball's gone with the wind. She tucked that one just inside the foul pole, which helped the Lady Eagles get back to the state title game. There are your nominees for this week's Chart Topper. Representatives are not standing by, but you can vote once in the comments section below, with the winner being announced on next week's show. So there you have it. Your nominees, you get to vote once, but let's see. Will Reber go back-to-back for the first time ever in the history of the Roundup? We will find out here next week in our final episode of the season. Now it is time for the shout-out portion of the show. From our MVP interviews over the past week, it is time for Talk of the Town.
And my teammates, these 2 girls, this whole team, this whole community. And my mother.
Hey, these 2 girls sitting next to me, my dad, my whole family, the rest of my team, the whole community, just everybody that comes and supports us.
I'd say my 3 Little League coaches, Abe, Tracy, and my dad. They coached us our whole entire lives from 3 years old to 18, and shout out both my parents. They've supported me, our whole family. And Monroeville. Go Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagle Nation was awesome tonight. They were in it.
Do I get one?
Awesome. Coach, do I get one? Charlie, do out.
Hey, I want to shout out my coaching staff. You're only as good as the people around you, and they're definitely just a truly tremendous group, and that's Trace, Pat, and Alex, and then my wife. I want to shout her out because anything that has numbers and letters on it and has to do with the computer, she's the one that does that. That's not me. And also Mr. Paul, he gave me a shot 15 years ago to be able to coach his program, and I truly am very grateful for that opportunity that he has given me. And then Eagle Nation, definitely. Thank you.
Just want to thank the Lexington community. When I moved in, they welcomed me like I was already there. They welcomed me like I was meant to be there, and I truly believe that God has placed me at Lexington for a reason. And I couldn't have thanked anybody more than Lexington community and everybody who has loved me, who has pushed me, and who has shown me just how much the community really cares for their teams. That was a surreal moment out there, looking out at the stands and seeing everybody. I love them. So I just want to say thank you, and Lexington's not going to realize how much it truly means to me, so thank you.
Shout out all my coaches again, Coach Berardi again, all my uncles, all of them, because they gave me something different last time. My mom, my dad, and Jesus Christ.
Just the team. They've had my back in this game. They've always had my back when I'm on the mound, and we just play together and play for each other.
I want to shout out my whole family, all my coaches, Scrappers Travel Baseball Organization, and just everyone who came and visited me today. So
shout out anybody.
Anybody, baby.
I want to shout out God.
First of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I want to thank my teammates for backing me up today. Franks for catching me, coaches, and all the people that came out to support us.
Just because he nearly does not get enough FaceTime here on the OH Report. I welcome back in the boss man, Brian Skowronski, to put a bow on the high school softball season. In fact, the state softball tournament. I know you were at some baseball games, but you did cover some of the games at the state softball tournament. So we're going to go from D1 to D7, the championship games, and just talk about these champions. But before we do that, just a bow on our area teams. We had 4 teams playing in the state semifinal. One of them made to the championship game, but we saw some good outcomes and some good showings from our teams here at state.
Really impressive stuff, not just from our local teams as we're about to dive into all the championships. And I think with the extended tournament now with the 7 divisions, it's better. When you start getting deeper into the tournament, you're going to find out there's a lot of first-timers on this list and plenty of our teams that would run into some perennial powers, maybe in the district round, regionals, or beyond. They now have a chance. Things have opened up, and it was really cool to see not 1 but 2 of our teams play each other, with Mohawk and then Monroeville going head-to-head. So we knew we were going to get a team competing for a state championship. So it was a lot of fun this last week, and the atmosphere at Firestone, maybe the best that we have for a state championship.
Absolutely, and just that venue it's perfect. It was celebrating their 100th year, Firestone Stadium this year. Just the setup. I know one of the fans I listened to said it reminds them of a league of their own. Actually, it was Andy Jardy that said it. It reminds them, of those old stadiums that the Rockford Peaches played in and stuff like that. And it does. And it's just, it was just great. And I know the D3 game I showed you, the greatest thing I saw this past week, just the atmosphere, what it can be, it's just phenomenal. But let's go over some phenomenal performances and break down these 7 championship games. And we will start with Division 1. Lebanon and Centerville. Brian, Lebanon in the state semifinal is getting no hit through 8 innings.
Crazy.
They're getting no hit through 8 innings. They finally get through in the 9th, score a couple runs, win that one over Lancaster, and then they win 3-1 right off the bat. Peyton Stansberry, a 2-run single, made it 2-0. Centerville made it 2-1 in the 5th, but then they got the run back in the 6th. But just a crazy story of you're 3 outs away. You could actually get walked off. The bases were loaded in one of those innings with 2 outs, and they held Lancaster. They're that close to not even making it to a championship game, and now they're state champs.
You hear sometimes that term, a team of destiny. Perhaps that was them, and they made the most, getting onto the big stage there in the championship. 10 hits overall, even though they didn't produce a ton of runs out of it. They had a lot of base runners and plenty of offense, and congratulations to them getting their first ever state title. Very cool.
A lot of those coming up, and we'll talk about D2 Riverside. Now, I saw this from Louisville's softball page, because Louisville is the only team in over 100 games at state to come back from a 3-run deficit to win. Well, that is 2 now. Riverside was down 3 runs to Mount Vernon. They come back. They put a 5 spot up in the 5th. They end up winning that game 8-6. But, they win their first ever state championship in a matchup of 2 teams that never made it to state before.
Which is really cool, and what the extended tournament now makes for everybody, that you can have these type of runs. And shout out to the Jackets. They've had an unbelievable program for a long time, but playing in D1 typically.
Yes.
So now that they're playing against schools that are a lot closer to their size, they get there. They scored, I think, 3 runs early on in the game in an inning, and they took what you would think was kind of a commanding lead. But the key word that you said was for Louisville, because now there is room at the top for 2 teams. So fantastic game. 5 spot in the 6th inning. That's big time to win a state championship.
Yeah, and there's a lot of first-time state champs in D1 and D2. You have it right there. Now to D3, which I thought was the best atmosphere overall. There's over 3,500. There's probably close to 4,000 people there, and most Dover fans, because they were looking for a state championship in their 2nd ever trip, and they absolutely get that, winning 10-0 in 6 innings. But it started off right in the bottom. The first pitch of the bottom of the 1st, you saw it on my greatest hits. Jenna Molk just right at the crack of the bat, the place went nuts. I felt like I was at Progressive Field on a Jose Ramirez home run, because right as you heard that, the place was deafening. I'm like, wow, this is the atmosphere to be at. And the Ohio State commit, not once, but twice hit home runs, bookends him, and they win it in 6 innings.
Another fantastic matchup in Holland Springfield. Just to even get there, how about the walk-off grand slam that they had in the regional championship?
Sorry, Madison fans. Ugh.
Played some great defense along the way to get into the final day of the season, but when you're going up against teams that have as much talent as that squad did in that type of environment, tough to overcome. So we salute Dover getting it done.
Yeah, 10 runs on 11 hits for the Crimson Tornadoes. Now to a game that you did a highlight of, Kenton Ridge. They were down to the last 2 outs against Lexington. Lexington nearly pulled off the biggest upset of the weekend, but hey, you're undefeated for a reason, and they kept the season alive to get 31-0 and then just dominated the 32-0 in a state championship.
I wouldn't even say it was domination. It was more mistakes by the opponent, in my personal opinion, getting to cover that game. There were 3 or 4 wild pitches that led to runs crossing the plate. So outside of a disastrous 3rd inning where they allowed almost all the runs, I think 8 of them, 7 were scored in that inning. Other than that, it was a pretty competitive game overall. I think actually Kenton Ridge got out-hit in that game, but they were a great team defensively. We saw that in the Lexington game, to be stride for stride there towards the end, and then they make the 2 big runs at the end for the walk-off. So I think that probably inspired them going into the championship game, where it's like, we got a scare, but we are the best team here in this division. And I think they proved it. They've been there a bunch of times, 8 times that they've been to the Final Four. I believe this is their 4th championship overall. So congratulations to them for getting it done and surviving that scare in the semifinal, and to punch their ticket to get another piece of history for the trophy case.
Yeah, 32-0, and those teams, they always find a way to win, and that's what Kenton Ridge did. Now to Wheelersburg and Liberty Union. They pulled off a big upset last year in the D3 state championship game. Well, the Pirates of Wheelersburg, though, they had a couple big commits. Ava Estep, she was in the greatest hits. She's going, I think, to North Carolina to play softball down the ACC, but 5 runs in that first inning, highlighted by her big home run as well. They won it 10-0 in 6 over Liberty Union. The Pirates are state champs.
And probably the most dominant performance of any of the games in the state championship. So they just absolutely were clubbing the ball. How many hits did they have in that game?
They had 16.
16 hits is
16
unbelievable against dominant pitching, which that's what it had been in the tournament up to that point. So just an offense like that, all cylinders firing at their full maximum potential in a state championship game. It's hard not to be impressed when you see something like that on the big stage.
Yep. Now to Tri-Village, the team that just finds a way. They had a squeeze play to win 1-0 in the regional championship. They score on a steal of home in a pickle to beat Downton 1-0 in the state semifinal, and then they win it 6-0 over Garaway to win the state championship. But it was highlighted from a couple defensive plays that we saw on your diamond cuts as well, especially the double play to end it.
Yeah, that's why it's number 1 this week for me. Anytime you can make history, and even though they had the 6-run differential, but they get the double play in the fashion they did, and that just showcases how they were able to stay alive in the tournament, playing defense like that, and just the belief and the continuity there of the infield, and that celebration. One of my favorite that we saw from the weekend, just that everybody just coming together right inside of the circle with the big hugs and probably a lot of tears, and to get that far in the tournament and to get it done. Something that I never got to do, you never got to do. I can only just sit back and just be like, man, that looks like just an unbelievable moment, and they had theirs.
Yeah, and they did. And another team that had theirs for the first time ever, Notre Dame out of Portsmouth, always ran into a region with Danville or with Strasburg-Franklin, but both of those teams got knocked out in the district championship game, so it paved the way for them to get to the Final Four in the championship game against Monroeville. And just like last year against Strasburg, Monroeville puts up 5 runs against in the top of the first, but it was a couple errors that didn't happen in the Mohawk game. Kind of happened to them there. It just domino affected from there, losing 9-1. But Notre Dame gets their first championship. Monroeville still yet to get that title, but back-to-back runners-up.
They had some fiery players. I enjoyed watching that Notre Dame team play, and especially the pitcher. She was just like the spark.
She's every strike she threw, she was
every single one. So that's an infectious part of the game that you can't necessarily get, I think, in baseball per se. That the girls, it works. It works anytime. You can be excited about every single play. Volleyball, I think, is a great one to point at too, where it's like, hey, we just got 1 point, so what? We're going to dance, we're going to clown on these guys. That's what they were able to do, and just an exceptional pitching performance. Just unfortunately for our Lady Eagles, just another bad first inning out of the gates, and psychologically, the seniors kind of admitted, not on air, but in the hallway when we were talking, like, it kind of had a little bit of an impact, like, dang it, you know, that darn first inning got us again, and they weren't able to dig themselves out of a hole. But looking forward to seeing what Monroeville does moving forward into the future, because they've got a sophomore pitcher who'll be a junior next year that they're really high on, got some time in the game, and just about everybody's back. They're only graduating 3.
Yeah, so look out for those teams coming up next year. That will put a bow on our softball coverage, but guess what? We still have another week of baseball before we think about going on vacation. And this is what we have coming up, because we have 3 teams that will be playing at Canal Park and Thurman Munson Stadium, as you see right here. Starting tomorrow, Tiffin Calvert. Can they finally break through to the state championship game? We are not a jinx, folks. I promise you that. But they'll have a good chance against Newark Catholic tomorrow. We'll have a live audio stream of it, and then after the game's over, we will bring you the whole video delayed broadcast. But you and I have seen Calvert the last 2 times they've gone to the Final Four. The first time they just ran into a buzzsaw, that was Liberty Union, and then 2 seasons ago,
just right there.
Transfer. I still say it should have been an out. They should have knocked off Highland to go to the title game, but it just wasn't meant to be. Last year they lost to JFK on a walk-off, but then they get them back with the win this year. But I think this could be the team that finally does it, Brian.
And they're so young. Blake Hoffman is the only, or Coleman, I'm sorry, is the only senior on the team. So everybody's going to be returning for them pretty much, except for obviously he's kind of been that glue piece. He's been a varsity player since he was a freshman. So if they don't get it done and move on to the state championship, we might have to start looking in the mirror at ourselves. You said we're not a jinx, Travis. I don't know. We're not trying to be. We're out there trying to get all the fans an opportunity to watch Tiffin Calvert, because they've had such a great run here, 3 out of the last 4 years getting to Akron. So this, I think, might be their best team, best chance, #1 in the state. Got to make it happen.
Speaking of #1 in the state and a team that's been there for the 4th consecutive season, the Waynedale Golden Bears. The hat is right down here. Golden Bears, 2-time state champs back-to-back. Last year, they did not get it done, losing to Heath, but they're back. And I think the marquee matchup of all of our state semifinal games, #1 Waynedale, #2 Coldwater. Shane Koblenz on the mound, though. If you have him on the mound, you know you got a chance to win.
Gosh, Waynedale's had such a phenomenal season, and you look at how they've tested themselves out of the WCAL, where they went unblemished this year. That's hard to do. Norwayne's a good team. Hillsdale's a good team. Matter of fact,
Chippewa
pretty top-heavy this year, right?
5 teams that went to district championship games. 2 teams that made it past the district championship. Well, 3 if Hillsdale should have won that game. But 2 teams that made it to the regional round. It was a very tough WCAL. They go undefeated, and their 3 losses are to Division I powerhouses, and 1 other loss to Highland, who in Division 6 has a chance of winning another state championship.
So the Golden Bears, to me, this is they had the pitching every year so far. That's not been a question for them. I don't know where they keep finding them at, but they've had 2 really quality starters. This might be the most dominant run that they've had so far, which is hard to really process because they've been so good. But we've started looking a little bit at Coldwater and what they've been able to do. 9-game win streak.
They're a perennial power in the MAC.
And at the beginning of the year, too, I think they had like a 15-game win streak or something out of the gates. So this is a team that scores a lot of runs. They've been playing great defense here lately. Unquestionably, this is the one on paper that has the most cachet going into the weekend.
Yeah, that game, live audio cast, 4 o'clock Friday, delayed broadcast right after, and then at 7 o'clock, live audio. Brian, the Perkins Pirates, they reached out to us and said, hey, will you please cover us in the regional final? Yes. Will you please cover us in the state final 4? Absolutely. Let's represent the SBC Perkins. Best of luck to you guys. You've seen them. They're a scrappy team. They didn't expect to be here. Now they are, and they have a chance.
And another team that just has 1 senior. It's so crazy to me that there is this collection of talent right now playing potentially to be on the last day of the season, and they just have 1 senior leader. Dylan Crabtree's been what a dog, man.
6 stolen bases. What is that?
He's he's like 44 for the season, which I'm not sure where that ranks in terms of the state lore, but he's got to be up there. It's definitely it's a Perkins and an SBC record, and they've had guys go on to the major leagues, quite a few of them.
Yes.
So I'm very much looking forward to see, now that they're in their own words kind of playing with house money at this point. It's like, we've made a run. They've got a lot of talent. They had the SBC Lake Division Player of the Year in Talon Walton, and they actually had 5 first-team all-conference performers. I've never seen that many from any baseball team ever. So it's a team that it's poised now. They've gone through the ringer. They've played a lot of quality teams, and they really haven't been tested. They're averaging 10 runs per game right now in the tournament, Travis. So they're putting up a bunch. They're getting some quality pitching performances, and I really do think, even though Norwalk Catholic's a fantastic team, doing a little studying on them too, the Perkins, they definitely got the dogs to get this done.
Newark Catholic plays Calvert Indian Hill from Cincinnati, unranked. So it's a chance. 2 unranked teams that got out of the region will have a chance. But yeah, the way that Perkins is playing.
Too much baseball.
It reminds me, Ontario. They'd had a 500 record, but it's how you play in the tournament, when you get hot, when your pitching gets hot. And Perkins is that team this year, coming out of that same district. Also, if any of these teams, I think at least 2, probably 3 will make it to the championship games. We'll do the same thing on Saturday and Sunday, and we will have highlights of all the other state championship games. But that'll wrap things up here for the 5th of 6 episodes. The finale comes next week. We will break down all the state baseball coverage. It'll be a baseball only as well, since softball is done. So we will have our diamond cuts, our greatest hits from just baseball. We'll have our shout outs from all these state games as well. But Ski, let's have one more week, one great week, and finish out our coverage on the OH Report. I want to thank the fine folks at Graham Auto Mall, Graham Ford, for sponsoring this show. Without you, I would be putting together a coffee table right now, pretty much. But you're giving me work, so appreciate you. Head on down there. They will hook you up with a very fine vehicle. But that'll do it. Him and I, we got to get ready for state baseball. We will see you next week right here on the Roundup with me, Big League Berardi.